Adora is with Food Panda. She is the regional key account excellent manager for APAC. And
Hey guys.
Have you here, Adora. We love your pink background.
Thank you. Welcome to the world of Food Panda.
And then we have Chilang. Where is Chilang? Chilang is the VP of Sales for Asia for PageUp. And he's also a Climb alumni. He has done all of the modules. So welcome, Chilang.
Hello, good evening, everybody.
Good to have you. And Bernard. Bernard is the storyteller. Bernard is an entrepreneur, and you're gonna hear a little bit about his story later on. So today he's gonna be the story. So welcome everybody. Now, we have about an hour together, so I wanted to go quickly. And this is really, as Jason said, this is meant to be a casual event. So we want to hear from you, and feel free to type your questions, or if you have something to share, you can also put it on the chat box, okay? So I wanted to start out with this quote. So what happened when we stay home? For me, I watch a lot of Netflix, you know, becomes a junkie. So this is over Mother's Day, you know, I invited my family to watch this documentary about Michelle Obama, and it's about her book called Becoming. And this quote resonated with me, and it says that if we can open up a little more to each other, share our stories, we will break down barriers. And I hope that we will take this quote as our spirit today, that it takes courage to be together. So I really applaud, you know, you're making the time, you know, spending your evening 1 hour with us. You know, we're gonna be together, sharing some stories and what's been happening, you know, since the circuit breaker, okay? Now, we have a lot of questions we want to ask the speakers and also all of you. You know, one thing it's going to surround today's topic is, has COVID-19 changed who you are as a leader? You know, a lot of you that coming tonight, we have a lot of entrepreneurs, we have a lot of business owners, we have a lot of business leader that works for SME. So we wanted to really examine, has it changed you? And how has it changed? And the speakers will be sharing their story tonight. You know, how has it changed them, and how did they use their talent to you know, tackle all of these new challenges? Now, I just want to, you know, let you all know that you are in a safe zone. And you know, because we're doing this virtually, we want to have just to point out some housekeeping rule. Now, if you are not wearing PJ, you look semi-decent, and hopefully you had a haircut, because now you can go to the hair salon. Feel free to turn on your camera so that we can see you, or you can turn it off, but you know, when you're speaking, turn your camera on so that you can really engage and have that conversation. Now, when the speakers are presenting, if you can be muted, that would be great. But anytime if you want to share your thoughts or answer questions, you can unmute, or you can use the chat function to pose a question or raise your hand. So I have my team here, so Putri and Gitra, if you can help me to kind of monitor the chat box, that would be great. Okay, Jamie, you got a haircut today. Okay, good. I really would like this to be a dialogue, a casual conversation. It's our first time. We actually planned to do this event back in February, actually, you know, at a really nice venue, but we got postponed, but we felt that it's important we come together. So we decided to do it virtually, and so still we would like you all to participate and mostly have fun, okay? All right. Now, if you are not familiar with Zoom, there are a few key buttons here. Unmute. use your chat box. This will pop up. You can type a message to everybody, or you can type a private message to the speaker or myself if you have anything you want to share, okay? There is a reaction button, so that would help you if you want to raise your hand, you want to give a thumbs up, you can do that. All right? So I want to first check in with you all to see how are you feeling today? We are 6 weeks in circuit breaker, right? Everybody from Singapore, yeah? So let me just quickly launch this for you. You look at your screen, it's gonna come up. Tell us, this is anonymous, so you don't have to worry about people looking at your answers. So how do you feel today? Tell us.
What if it's not on the chart, Dion?
You have to force choice, Chef. Why you have to make it difficult for me?
No,
hurricanes, tornadoes are not available in Singapore.
Oh shit, man! Because today was like a tornado.
No.
Okay, I clicked thunderstorm.
That's the closest we can get in Singapore. Yeah, thunderstorm.
That was a nice one today.
Didn't rain. It's pretty dry.
It did. It did.
The results are pouring in. 10 more to come in. 85% completed.
All right.
How do you feel? Things coming in. Hold on.
So, how's it looking? How's the weather, Dion?
Let me show you how it looks.
Let me show you.
Can you guys see?
Oh wow!
Wow.
A lot of sunshine.
Wow, that's good.
So equally cloudy. Equally cloudy. Some rain, a little bit of thunderstorm, some rainbow. So it's a mix, but sunshine and cloudy. So we hear you. Now, we want to continue to explore, the speaker will share with you how they feel since the circuit breaker and how they feel about the future. So something that we would like you to continue to share with our discussion tonight, okay? Now, for those of you who are not familiar with CLIMB, because we actually first thought, the alumni, you all know about CLIMB, but for those who is not familiar with CLIMB, I just want to quickly tell you what is CLIMB. We actually started CLIMB exactly 2 years ago. It's our 2 years anniversary, Chef. We started with an idea. It's a leadership development program with 5 modules. So CLIMB is an acronym. And it started with C as how do you construct your talent? How do you find out who you are, as a leader? And then we have the L, which is the leadership. How do you build team? How do you lead an organization? How do you lead team and drive them to achieve success? We also have Innovate. I stand for Innovate, and Innovate is all about how do you disrupt the industry? How do you solve problems? How do you be innovative? And this is a word that's being used very often, today with the pandemic. And then we have, I jumped to brand, it's about how do you put your brand on digital platform, social media, how do you create the right message? How do you find the right customer digitally? And then lastly, of course, if you have all these great skills, how do you monetize the business? So it represents 5 modules. It started with myself, and the co-founder of CLIMB is here, Chef. He's already been talking and letting you know his thoughts. And we started 2 years ago, but we also have partners with CLIMB. I saw Alex here. I don't know, is Nick here? And then I think Kelvin is here tonight. So thank you for being here and supporting the event. Now, CLIMB, it's been around 2 years. We have done over 500 training places, over 400 alumni. We have classes going on every month. So we're really blessed, and we have a great team, and we have a lot of SME owners, entrepreneurs that come through the program. Now, I think what resonate people with Climb is about learning about themselves. And tonight you're going to hear a lot of the alumni, what had that, changed them, or what had that make an impact in the way that they lead. And I think this is actually a quote probably from Bernard from his video. And he had said that I came, I learned, I rediscover myself. I really know who I am as a leader, and that builds confidence to lead my team. Climb is a community. Now, in the past, we have done, alumni event, more on an informal basis. But, last year, actually, that, you know what, I really wanted to build a community. And so with that note, I wanted to introduce our first speaker, Jason. Jason, as I mentioned earlier, he is the co-founder and CEO of Spark System. It's a fintech company. It's been around for a couple of years. I remember meeting Jason at an SG Tech event, and I actually was doing a speaker session, and he came to me and we started talking, and he said that I think, we should bring my entire team to Climb, which he did. He did. He brought his entire executive team and also operational team to Climb. And as you can see, we always like to introduce our partner and our alumni with their top 5, meaning these are Jason's top 5 strengths. It's rank order. He has a lot of caring, talks about he's very much into his team, want to care about them, individualizer, he's a great listener, but he always step up and take charge. He's at command. And business focus talks about his thought process. The yellow represent, he's always very creative, very excited about new ideas, can connect the dots. But most important, that mission. Mission talks about he is motivated by a purpose. He's motivated by making a difference in people's lives. And I wanted to really ask Jason, why did you created the community? Why was that pressing need that you wanted to do that? I mean, you have a full-time job.
So I guess I would relate that there was a point of time in my career where I thought, hey, you know what? People might look at me and say, wow, you're a co-founder, you're a COO. But I am also a human, I'm also a person working. So there came to a time where I actually needed some advice, and I actually went to Dion, I went to Chef, and they definitely helped me out because, well, they know my profile better than myself. And that helped me know myself better. And I thought, hey, how can I pay it forward? We all talked about, okay, I was grateful for the help that I received, but I realized that, am I alone in this? Am I alone who want help? And I realized that some of us, through our professional working careers, we might have been, working for 5 years, working for 10 years, we might have some sort of success. And we might then feel shy about asking for help, or feel helpless that, I might have this predicament, but who can I turn to for help? And I realized that, as part of reaching out to Dior, reaching out to Chef, and I reached out to some of my fellow teammates whom I met at Climb, I realized that, hey, we all can speak to one another, share ideas, and actually it's a community. It is a community. So I looked at some of these other alumni, the most famous MBA alumni, Stanford, Oxford, you name it. What's most valuable in the MBA is not the piece of paper. It's actually the network that you get from the alumni. So I thought, wow, that's interesting. Well, and 10 plus Climb have an alumni, and why don't we build a community from the alumni? Because the Climb program is all about leadership, and since it's about leadership, hey, we have this pool of leaders, and why don't we just come together and form the community? So that's how it's all started.
And you have build, a committee. I wanted to acknowledge the committee, Chilung, of course, Adora, Bernard is here. I don't know, Sharon, Farouk, Louise, those are all, Will and Amos, those are all committee members that actually helped to create something like this. This is about the committee. And you have worked together with the committee member to build a mission, vision, and values. Can you share with us, what is this about?
So when we come together, what is the purpose or what's the mission, vision? So as you can see on the screen, it's not like, okay, I can benefit from this monetary. No, it's more like a self-growth. How can I benefit internally from my self-growth? And the whole idea of Climb and where we benefited the most on Climb is our strength. So as you can see, my strength, I'm a caring person, I'm an individualizer, I got command. And sometimes we need to hone these strengths, and how better to do it than with someone else or a community of people who understands the idea of talent, understanding talent. So we come together, we share our stories, we create value for one another. All right, we basically talk about vulnerability, where we really share our problems genuinely, and hopefully we get some sort of solution or inspiration. So that's what we are kind of looking for.
And I thought that the values that you guys came up with is very interesting. Focus on strengths, willing to share, create value, be authentic. You can be yourself. And then it's about self-improvement. I think I've always remember Chef said that, if you have created mission, vision, values, and if it's all nice and good, but if you have this and you put it in the drawer, it doesn't mean anything. So, I have to say that Jason, as organize a get-together every week since the beginning of the circuit breaker. And so every week as a group, we got to talk about our strength. We got to talk about, share what's we're struggling or what celebrating actually some wins. And then got to be really in a safe place where we can talk about what we gain and how we can help each other. I think, leaders in this community is all about having that growth mindset, being that learner. And I know that on his own time, Jason has actually individually reached out to individual alumni members that asking them how they're feeling, do they need help? And I know that with his business network, he had connected people and helped them through these difficult times. So this is your baby, right, Jason?
Yes. In a way, it's a way of, like I mentioned, giving back. And I guess I've always been like that since school. I always like to just be a busybody. Some people might call it that way. Yeah, but I like to connect people. I like to be able to see a positive outcome from these connections. So that's what I like to do.
Great. So the community is built by the people for the people. So it's not actually part of Climb. It is part of it, but actually is organized by the alumni. And if you feel that, hey, this mission, vision, value speaks to me, and if you like to be part of the community, we welcome you, to come in and join us.
And just for the record, I mean, I'm not paid to do this, so it's really out of my own free time.
And Dion, Jason, Chilung here, I would like to add is that Jason, your strengths of care, and that has truly inspired me. If you call yourself a busybody, I will call you a inspiring busybody. Because I remember you asking me, Chilung, don't you think we should start a community and alumni, because we have gained so much from Climb. right? And I think one of those things that we wanted to build is that, hey, network, because you and me, we are in sales. We always find that, with a strong network and an engaging network, we are able to share, we are able to help and get help from. Yeah, I think that is truly inspiring. I'm glad that today we have our very first Climb webinar.
Thank you. Now, I wanted to, really ask these important questions. And I want to direct this question to Bernard. What are your most pressing challenges and what are you're struggling the most? And I encourage you to type something perhaps in the chat box to share with us, what are your challenges? What are you struggling? Or if you have something you like to share, you can also do that and we'll come back to you once we hear or see what you've typed in the chat box. But I wanted to introduce our second speakers. Bernard, as you're familiar with the top 5 wheel, I would say. I know that Bernard likes to be introduced as a storyteller. Bernard is a professional photographer and video photographer, and he actually helped us to create our Climb video. And you look at his top 5. Number 1 is the individualizer, that personal approach to people. And then he has 3 talent in the thought process, which is about the thinking. Learner, super curious, business focus, really big picture, but also financial orientation is that organization, thinking about the detail, being that perfectionist. And then lastly, arranger is about, getting resources and getting things done. So with that talent, my encounter with Bernard, as actually I was his client, I really feel that personal attention from him. I remember that our first meeting, he probably spent more than 2 hours with us, just kind of listening to what kind of video we wanted to create, giving us that complete presence and that curiosity to wanting to know our unique story. And he worked tirelessly in terms of coming to many of our events, shooting different people, doing many shooting to create the final 1-minute video. So his dedication really inspired me. And I will turn this over to him to let him share with you, his story. And as I mentioned earlier, he is an entrepreneur. And how is an entrepreneur doing in the time of the pandemic? Bernard?
Hi, thank you, Dion. Hello, everyone. My name is Bernard, and I wouldn't call myself an entrepreneur. I'm self-employed. So one of the things that self-employed people, or I strongly encourage self-employed people to do, is have diverse source of income. And so with myself, as Dion has mentioned, I am a photographer. So I shoot corporate and personal events. I am a video producer. I produce corporate videos. I teach as well. So I teach photography and videography to primary, secondary, and tertiary institutions. And when during the lull periods, I do part-time. I drive Grab part-time as well. I do airport transfers. And during this period of this COVID period, I do food and parcel delivery as well. So let me explain a little bit why I do so many things. So in life, especially during this period, people always use the expression, when life throws you a lemon, what do you do? And the very common expression that people always give is that you make lemonade, right? So that's it's like trying to be positive in a negative situation. When life throws you lemons, you make lemonade. But during one of our discussions that we had, one of our meetings, I realized that this lemon analogy goes much further than just making lemonade. So I've met with many problems and obstacles just within the last 6 weeks. First events got cancelled, so a bulk of my income was gone. Then I thought, no, I've got a few sources of income. I will fall back on teaching. So my lessons continued for another 2 weeks, and then CCA was all called off by Ministry of Education. And so I was like, okay, fine. I still have, I still can drive and earn some income. And then the government said, okay, now everybody stay at home. Nobody goes to work. Even driving Grab has very, very little income. So it has hit me actually quite hard, and I took 2 weeks to get over mentally, to get over this mental challenge that has faced me, because I've never faced such a serious problem before. And then I started to think how to solve this problem. So step 0, the first thing I did was to take 3 steps back. Right, when you stand further away from the problem, you get to see a macro picture. You get to see the problem from front to end. You get to see the whole thing a bit clearer. And then then you proceed to step 1. Right. To step 1 is you have, what I did was I did 3 things. I re-evaluate, I review, and I repurpose, right? So I re-evaluated myself, right? My current standing, my current priorities, what is more important now. So family is first. I need to put my family first. I need to feed them. What should I do? And what can I do? Then I review the problem and I say, okay, so this thing, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this, but I can do this, right? So then the third thing was that I started to repurpose. Different things that I was doing. So the repurposing, I will touch on it a bit later. So what I did was that step 2 was I stripped everything apart, right? What I mean by strip everything apart, the lemon itself, there are 3 main components to it, right? So the first thing you have is, you start from the inside, is you have the seed, right? So I took the seed, which is my time, and then sow it and plant it in different areas for it to grow, so that when this difficult time is over, I can harvest the fruits and enjoy it, right? So I took some time off to volunteer with a couple of charity organizations, helping them deliver things to needy families, collect computers, refurbish computers, collecting and delivering it. And then there I expanded my network. And then, of course, the second thing that we have within the lemon is the flesh, right? So do whatever I could with my both hands to feed myself, to feed my family, right? So the flesh. And then the skin that protects these 3 components can be repurposed to do a lot of other things. So if you go and just do a simple Google search, you can find more than 30 ways to repurpose the lemon skin, all to positive benefits, right? So repurposing, what I did was that I went to dig up my archives of photos, and then I repurposed generic photos to put on stock photo websites to sell. Hopefully it will get me some income. I took the more visually attractive ones. I made an online gallery on my website, so that I can sell these art pieces for people who are decorating up their home. I have a car, so I started to do delivery. So there isn't any much people to bring around, but there's still food to deliver and parcels to deliver. I rented out my house, so there's some income as well. I could possibly also rent out my equipment to get some income. Now I have a little bit more time. I distributed out my time to help other people improve on areas regarding to photography and videography. And I've also done a few webinars to share my knowledge to help other people grow in the areas of photo and video. And also lastly, I cleaned out my store and started putting things up to Carousel and sell. So I have been doing all these things the past 6 weeks just to get by, just to get through this tough times. So I really don't know what is going to happen in the weeks or the months ahead. But I'm a sort of person who, when the problem arises, when the problem comes nearer, when I can see the better picture, I'll repeat the steps again. So I'll review the problem and then see whatever necessary actions I can take to help myself, the people around me, and my family. So generally, I mean, of course, after all these, the most important thing is to take action. And yeah, so this is basically how I survived the last 6 weeks, and I just pray that, you know, after June 2nd, things will be slightly better.
Thank you for sharing, Bernard. I think your story is very inspiring. You're very humble, and you know, you keep going. I remember first time you came to our group catch up, and you're talking about all of these things. I think my heart just, you know, went out, and I was like, wow, how do you survive? But you're still describing it with a smile. But I can also see all of your talent working harder to think about your very strong thought process, to think about, okay, how do I get out of it? How do I move forward? And then your positivity really, you know, shines through as well. You still come to the call with a smile, despite, you know, what is happening with you. Do have a question from Bunyam, and she asked that, did you take that photo that is in your background?
Oh yes, I did. So there's a jetty behind me actually, and this shot is taken in New Zealand. So it's this lake is on the west coast of South Island in New Zealand.
Yeah, and thank you. Yes, I agree with you. Now let me move on to the next speaker. Thank you, Bernard.
You're welcome.
You know, right now everybody is home, right? Now I'm in Hong Kong, so I have a little bit of freedom. I can go out, but all of you circuit breaker working from home. So I wanted to specifically touch on teams. You know, how do you manage a team when everybody is working from home? And I wanted to introduce and bring in Chulong from Ketchup. Chulong came to Climb, and he did all the modules, graduated, and you know, one thing that really let me remember Chulong is his #1 talent, which is caring. Caring is all about team. And you can see, you know, his agility with that adaptability and wanting to bring the team to the best, that competition, and super curious. But he was one of the first alumni that had said, hey, I have really implemented something after Climb. Because, you know, at the end of our class, if you come to our leadership class, we always ask you, what is your aha moment? And what do you do differently on Monday morning? Because we know that if you don't do anything on Monday, nothing will happen. You know, that's what chefs always said. So he is the one that came to us and said, you know what, I did something. I implemented the team pledge for my team. So I wanted him to share the story that since, you know, his whole team, him also working from home, and I know that he just shared with us yesterday that his team is going to work from home until August 1st. How do you do it, Chulong?
Hey, hi, Dion, thank you. Hi, hello, everybody. I'm Chi Leong. And before I start, I really wanted to tell Bernard something. You know, during this COVID-19, everybody say, hey, you know, COVID-19 is so contagious, you know, infectious, be careful. But you know, your positivity is even more contagious than COVID-19, Bernard. I wanted to say this because for the past few weeks, every Wednesday we are catching up, and every time you just inspire me. You gives me a lot of energy. Yeah, this is really coming from the bottom of my heart. And talking about team morale, first of all, the morale was low to begin with, even before COVID-19 or the circuit breaker, because the business that I manage for PageUp in Asia is predominantly Hong Kong and Singapore. And as you know, Hong Kong, the late last year, it was affected by the protests, so on and so forth. So growing the business, it's really, really challenging. And growing the business is my key KPI. And right after, or not even after the protest earlier this year, you have Singapore going into circuit breaker. That is like spreading salt on the wounds already. So, but one thing that I am very thankful for and lucky to have, it's a good team and a great culture that was built by PageUp. My co-founder and also ex-CEO who established the company in 1997, she built a very, very solid team with a great culture. So I entered into the circuit breaker with my team, very mature. I would say they are very resilient, and we all share the same mindset, which is to do our best in areas that we have control of. Obviously, circuit breaker or the COVID-19 gives us a lot of uncertainties. And, when we enter into a circuit breaker, we tell ourselves, COVID-19 I've got no control of. What can we control of? We should spend all our energy there, and positive energy. So that is to continuously to do business development, follow up with sales opportunities, trying to close deal. So the team, myself, we persevere continuously, consistently doing what we can in our best effort. And things really gets a lot brighter at the end of the tunnel. And in fact, during circuit breaker and early the first week of May, we actually closed the largest deal of the financial year in Asia. We closed it during a circuit breaker. And that was even sweet because during that week, we won 2 deals. So it is really a very big leap forward for me and my team, because throughout the year, there's drought and famine. We haven't been getting solid business and good solid deals. And both of them coming in during circuit breaker tell us that, hey, if you persevere, you're consistently doing things that within your control. You can make things happen. And talking about it, how this thing actually helps, because I find that in the way how I manage high morale within the team, it's I make full use of my key strength, which is my number one, which is care. So I think my care strength allows me to empathize a lot more with my team members. I understand how pressurizing it is and discouraging during this time. So I don't need to keep asking my team for results, for performance. In fact, during circuit breaker, I did lesser review. I suppose there are organizations who are, because I don't see you face to face, every day I have to have meetings, I have to review sales and all that. In fact, I did lesser. Sometimes I don't even do it over the week. In fact, I spend more time looking at their activities and acknowledging the good effort that they have put in, and also apply my coaching, right, in areas that I can. And one thing, when we enter into circuit breaker, I make use of what I have learned in Climb, which is what Dion has mentioned earlier, the pledge. I have implemented the pledge previously with my team members. The pledge is all about understanding one another. What is your style? What people can count on you for, and what do you expect from people? So we all agree to have each other's back. And one thing, the common frequency within the team is that we have to be genuine, we have to be honest, open with one another. And through that conversation and over a long period of time, working together, you build trust. So I really trust my team to do their best. And they also trust me that I will never ask them to do something that I would not do or impossible to do. I think as that working relationship progresses, we just have a lot of trust in one another. And in my own personal leadership and together with my team, trust is really a big thing for me as a leader. It doesn't come easy. So when I first started managing a team, I tell myself I have to earn it as a leader. And now that I've earned it, I have to consistently tell myself that I need to uphold that trust that people have in me. So I always believe that if I respect that, I will get mutual respect back. So that is my sharing of how to keep the morale, within my team. And I'm really happy that I've got a trusting team that I have.
Excellent. Thank you, Chilang. You can pose your questions. I'm sure a lot of people have questions about work from home. Seems to be the new normal for the future. So if you have any question for Chilang, you can post it on the group chat. I do wanted to introduce our next speaker to talk about, what is the new normal? How does that gonna look like? Are we going back? A lot of us, I think I still have some conversation with people say, I'm waiting to go back. I'm waiting to go back to where we were. I'm not sure we're going back. So what does that new normal looks like? I want to introduce Adora. Adora came to Climb and she was actually in the same class with Bernard, I think. They're in the same batch together. And again, she is another leader that really impresses me with her people acumen, her people talent, the green area, as you can see, that individualizer, that care, the learner, and the agility. And she's currently now with Food Panda. So when she told me that, hey, I'm now with Food Panda, I was thinking, wow, she must be so relaxed. Food Panda is the big winner, in the pandemic. Everybody need delivery. And but as she came to the community and started to share her story, she also has her struggle, as a leader and working with people. So I'm gonna have her, share her story with you, and I'm gonna turn it over to you, Adora.
Thanks, Dion. Contrary to belief, I haven't had any haircuts yet because whilst the men have had theirs. My name is Adora. I've been in the F&B industry for almost 15 years. It is my first time coming to the service provider side, the tech world. But otherwise, I started on the ground flipping burgers, cleaning toilets, and then progressing to cooking pad thai and pouring beer and then making pizza. In my last role, I was the general manager of Baker & Cook, Singapore and Malaysia. You may have heard me. I did radio for a bit. I'm in between stations right now, and it's really all about people. I'm an advocate of people before profit. To me, if we don't care about people, the money will never come. Whether it's a sales pitch, whether it's an approach, whether it's creating a strategy, it's always about people at the end of the day. And if you look through your entire P&L, your profit and loss statement, it's always about people. People make decisions, people make the change. So if we can just head over to what is the new normal? Before we touch on that, I always stress that we are in the people industry serving food. I know today we have a couple of folks from HR joining us. We have some of our attendees from the hospitality industry joining us. So really about the people first, and then being from the industry that you are in, doing what you are doing and delivering the service that you specialize in. A bit about the new normal. Basically, it speaks uncertainty. We will never go back to that normal, the normal that we saw 3 to 4 months ago. Uncertainty, we talk about losses, bankruptcy, as we've seen with Thai Airways, struggles, people with family, they're struggling, they don't know how to diversify, everyone's very single-minded, tunnel-visioned, they don't know how to come up with new plans. Contactless, like in our industry, contactless delivery, everybody wants to avoid touch. There's a lot of fear because you don't know how to cope. And the last point being change. As humans, we generally don't take too well to change. The next slide, I'll share with you what the new normal means to me. 4 aspects here: realization, reflection, resilience, as well as human connection. Realization is the fact that there is a need to be still. realization, the fact that we haven't spent time with family, our parents, friends whom we haven't caught up with for a long time, wrongs that we haven't had the time to right. Reflection, what did we do in the past 3 months or just 3 months ago? Spend some time with yourself to ask who has actually made an impact in your life. When I went to Climbs, Lead and Construct, I learned a lot about myself. At the same time, I also realized and reflected on who actually made an impact in my life. Despite how far you have come as an individual, not forgetting the small wins you have achieved recently. Never forget them. Even if it meant a small win was having a meal with a loved one, why not, right? Resilience, the means to recover, but for now, the means to cope. Exactly like what Bernard had shared earlier. How did he formulate strategies to cope with the situation? With his 3 R's, right? Reevaluate, review, repurpose. On the flip side in business, how do we formulate strategies to cope over these tough times? I want to tell you about what one of the restaurant chains shared a few weeks ago at a QSR seminar. This was a sharing done by Vineet, the COO of Pizza Hut APAC, who put forth a 4C framework that revolves around care for employees, care for customers, care for business, care for community. If you noticed, through all of that, it revolves around people. The last point about the new normal and what it means to me, human connection. Sometimes I am amazed that it has taken such a pandemic to put us at this hard stop to realize how it's like to be human again. More often than not, we're always on the run. I remember I used to do 4 things at a point in my life: radio, work, school, hosting. I never had time for myself. The only time I had to myself was probably the 4 hours in the radio station playing music, still talking and interacting with my listeners. So connecting with humans, finding yourself and being yourself, and this always starts with you. Now, flipping over to the world of foodpanda, I've been with the brand for 6 months now. How have we helped our partners over this period? Well, foodpanda currently operates across 11 markets in APAC, and over COVID-19, we've had to see how we can help brands stay afloat. Each market has their individual struggles. Brands are unsure about what to do. They are unclear about strategies that need to be put in place. It doesn't help, right, that there's this stigma also that delivery is all about cost, about taking commission. By the end of the day, I often challenge our partners' mindsets on how they can actually use delivery to their benefit. How can they use their marketing dollar and stretch it to target a wider audience? How can they look at the verticals that we have on our platform, like groceries, shops, food delivery, to sustain their business? And it ends up with the evolution of quick commerce.
This is the new normal of today, quick commerce. And quick commerce, it basically talks about this. It's nothing that we don't already know. It is the ordering and the delivery cycle that is completed under 60 minutes. In certain markets, maybe even 30 minutes, maybe even 40 minutes. It is the time when you're on your bid. I wake up at 7:45 every day. I'm supposed to be in front of my computer now at 9 o'clock. The first thing I do is, oh my goodness, I open my eyes, I'm hungry. I open my app, I start surfing, and I start wondering, what do I want to order? What does my stomach feel like? I order, I receive a shower. By the time I'm out, food is here, it's delivered, and life goes on. And this is going to happen for breakfast, for lunch, for your coffee break, for your dinner. This is the new normal. So yeah, that's all I have to share today.
Great. Thank you so much, Adora. I know that we're running tight on time. It's like the story of my life, right, Chef? I know you're laughing at me now.
I am so amused, I'm running out of wine.
He's giving me such a hard time. I'm always run late with my class, But I wanted to touch on, you know, you hear the story, and I'm sure all of you have your own story. We love to hear it, and we're going to continue to do our community get together every week. But looking at the future, you guys in a week, you know, will be phase one, you know, after circuit breaker. What will recovery looks like? I'm going to open up to the panel, and I'm going to open up to the community. And if you like to share, please unmute, or you can send me a chat. You can do that. But panel speaker, you guys have any view on what will recovery look like? Anyone?
Yeah, Dion, I have two views. Looking after businesses in many regions in Southeast Asia, I think we're going to have two major trends. One is going to be a V shape, and V shape is like Vietnam. And I'm not too sure if Kwani is still on the call, but in Vietnam, from the day they announced the go back to normal, business almost instantaneously went back to normal.
Yeah, Chef, I'm on still on the call, and yeah, wow, the bounce is really quick, and it's actually surprising. I was telling Chef the other day when we were on a conference call that it's almost like we live in two different worlds between what's happening in Singapore and what's happening in Vietnam. Like Vietnam, the roads are full, the restaurants are open, the bars are open.
So thank you, Kwani, to reaffirm my views. So for Kwani, it's really a V shape. He went to the rock bottom and he's skyrocketing to the moon within 24 hours, just because governments say we are back to normal. In Singapore, we are right now dealing with 3 phases of back to normal. 3 phases. And these 3 phases is going to be a big, what I call U shape. It's going to be a big U shape. Actually, there is no alphabet which could actually really reflect what this U shape is going to be, because it's going to be long, painful, very heavily regulated, and putting businesses under tremendous pressure. How much can the government help? I think the help is running out. I mean, it may extend for another month or 2, but after that, it's going to be the survival of the fittest. And if I can advise anyone on the call, right now, it's not about strategies. Forget about strategies. Right now, you have to be very tactical. You have to be very agile. You have to be very decisive. And you have to be very fast. So, not about strategy, be very tactical, and be very decisive. That's the only advice I can give you.
Thank you, Chef. Anyone else that is in the community?
Yeah, Chef, thank you. This is Chileong. I personally, I find that the recovery journey will be very bumpy. Like what the Chef said, there are 3 phases. And I feel that as we open up, I find that we might have another second wave of contracted cases. And the other thing from a business standpoint, I feel that the level of uncertainty is still very, very high. And businesses are transforming. Many businesses are looking at, changing their business model. So there are a lot of changes happening. And in Singapore, I think more than 95% of organizations, they are SME, right? So I think the prolonged opening would have a lot of impact in the Singapore market. That's my view. And talking about how on my side, how I would react to changes is that I always find that there's no best time. Like what Chef has said, be tactical. So especially from a sales side, what I think is that the best time is now. So anything that I have in mind, I would like to try. right? If I feel that there's a particular industry, there's a particular use case for the technology that I can bring to the market, I'll try it small, and then I'll try test it. If it's not working, fine tune, change. So I think that approach that I plan to deploy would allow me to keep myself very close to the changes to the market and change accordingly. It's just keep trying, fine tune, try again, and see what yield the best results.
And maybe I piggyback on what Chef said about the V-shaped recovery in Vietnam, and Quan Yi is still there. And the next question would be, what will you do differently moving forward? Since you are facing a very quick recovery and back to normal, are you guys doing things differently, Quan Yi?
Thanks, Dion. I think right now it's a very interesting scenario. I mean, I'm Singaporean, and all of the other business partners and directors are based in Singapore, and I'm kind of stuck here. And at first I was wondering if being stuck here was better or being in Singapore was stuck better. But what has changed, and has changed really quickly, I think most of the people will agree that you need to adapt and quickly move with technology. And if you have kind of like left behind, you're going to end up finding that all the ideas that are out there will start to be, people are already acting on it. So like what was mentioned, there's no right time. In fact, the right time is now. And with Q Industries, we've been doing a lot of change. And the change management is now kind of what the focus of the directors are now, is to make sure that, we implement it and it's sustainable.
And speaking of technology, I mean, I know that we have a lot of actually tech company in our community, people actually have really put things digitally in the last few weeks. I know that ProAge have done that. Is Gracia here or Jacqueline? Would you guys like to share, things that you guys had transformed your business?
Hi, yeah, it's kind of not very convenient for me to turn on my video now. I think also it will cause my computer to lag a bit. So don't mind me as I keep my video off. Yeah, we've done quite a bit to transit our business because for ProAge, we are in a health consulting business, which means all our programs are actually done physically. And so with the circuit breaker limiting all physical action, that means essentially all of our services have now, been unable to, our typical services been unable to continue, but we kind of took advantage of the circumstance, knowing that in this time of COVID, and companies are also keen to know how do they engage their employees differently. And so we have transited all our physical health services to a digital health offering. We've made available digital wellness health workshops, fitness classes, and launch digital campaigns to bring the community together. So somebody was talking about community just now, and with all the employees working remotely, that's just a key question. So we are leveraging on the gaps that have emerged in this time and seeing how our solutions kind of can meet that. If we can transform and adapt fast enough, of course there are its challenges, but we are also finding its opportunities. Yeah.
Sure. And we had also people, is Alex here? They actually had the demo day with the educational tech startup, and I know that Jamie is here. Jamie, anything to share from your point of view in terms of recovery, or what are you doing things differently? Or Alex?
Hi. Hi, sorry. I'm here. So how are we doing things differently? It has always been tech. So I think moving forward, the models would sort of, the new normal will pretty much include tech in a huge way. So I think adopting tech and leveraging that in the business will be sort of the way to move forward. So we just had our demo day yesterday on education technology, right? So I guess what we also shared is that even in sectors like education, where it has traditionally not been changing too much, they're at a point where moving forward, a lot of the teachers, educators, schools are also looking to leverage tech to see how else can they continue to deliver learning and teaching. Yeah, I think that sort of will cut across a lot of the sectors moving forward.
It's just probably stepped out. Now, last questions. I think I wanted to direct this to Jason. And, you know, so how can our community help? What is next with Climb community? What's your plan, Jason?
So I think this is our first webinar. We didn't expect such a big turnout, which kind of shows that we can do more of this. So you definitely hear more events coming up. I think everyone's interested to participate, ask more questions. And what we want to do is have everyone connect. So I can see, I think Lawrence, you're quite enthusiastic in sending things on the chat. You know, we would love that more of you can join us as a community. Feel free to connect with any of us directly. I think as Dion, as part of the organizer, would have all the email contacts. We can obviously share our personal contacts on LinkedIn or through the email. We can connect. There's a lot of more stories to share with each other. And I also, for those who I didn't manage to share also how I have to pivot. So the word pivot, where did I learn this? Because while going through this, I looked at history. So in history, we talked about recessions. We talked about big impact, global events, and how did the world recover from that, right? So, you know, let's look at this pandemic is global, right? What other global events do we have? World War II, World War I. These are all global events. It was over. People came out stronger, right? What's new? Technology. Why? Look, you're all on Zoom. All of you are on Zoom. You know that today, Zoom has become a new word that everyone's talking about daily. But you know what? The human connection doesn't change. Like what Dora says that, yeah, although we are using more technology, but human connection has become more important. So I think what we will definitely do moving forward is going to have more events within the community. You have joined us today. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and we'd like to do more of it. I think time is short. This is the first time we're conducting this. Do apologize if there was any hiccups, or we'll try to do better next time. But we definitely want to hear more from you, actually. Yeah.
So, are there any questions? You know, before I have a few announcements, but I wanted to make sure that we answer all the questions. I know we've been very busy in this chat box here, and I know that the speaker has been answering some questions. And if you have anything, you can unmute and have a questions, or let me see if there's anything in the chat box.
Dion, if I just may, I want to thank Jason for organizing all of that. Is amazing, and to have almost 60 plus people on the call is unbelievable, and we should really give him a big cheer. Okay, so let's give him a big cheer. Okay.
Woohoo! Thanks guys for attending this webinar. Thank you so much. We didn't expect that many people.
The second thing is, I also want to remind everyone, the future is actually in our hands. We can decide what to do and how to do it. I think COVID-19 has been blown out of proportions and has put many countries on their knees for whatever reasons. Statistically, it's proven that it's not worse than any other coronavirus. But anyway, what I would like to send across to everyone is, when government regulations are published and imposed, let's try as much as possible to try to go back to as much as possible to a social normal, because we are all social creatures and we all need interactions. We need that touch, we need that communication, we need that interaction in any form and shape. So let's not have regulations disturb that too much. because to me, it's a big upper threat. And I hope government regulations will not come in between us and our relationships. That's my biggest wish.
Thank you, Chef. Now, those of you who are alumni, you've taken a climb workshop, feel free to reach out to me or Jason or Gitra. Let us know you like to be involved. You can come to our weekly get together. For those who are not an alumni, I know that there's a lot of new people and you would like to be an alumni. Let me give you some opportunities because we have some workshop that's coming up. I wanted to share with you next week, we're actually doing a workshop about monetize. Kevin is here and he's actually teaching the class. If you really want to know how you're going to survive financially during and after the pandemic, come sign up. It's a one-day class and it's actually funded by SSG. So it's 90% funded. You only pay 10% if you're an SME. Now, if you want to know what are you made of, who are you as a leader, come to our class. Me and Chef welcome you in June 17 and 18. And you have already heard, you know, how all of these speakers learn about themselves and how they've applied their talent, you know, in the time of the pandemic. Lastly, and then if you like to think about putting your brand digitally and think about your digital strategy, come in July. I know Nick is here. And, you know, how do you really, you know, be intentional about changing your brand strategy, your marketing strategy in today's crisis? So come in July. We have all of these workshops and you can become an alumni and you can join the community. If you like more information, you can scan this QR code here and we'll capture your information. I wanted to thank you for all of you joining. It is really unexpected to have such a big crowd. It started with us, 4 of us talking together. We said, hey, let's open up to the community. Maybe we'll get a few more to come in. And now we have, you know, 60 new friends, right, Jason?
Well, the more the merrier. I rather have more friends than more enemies. But definitely, I always like to have more friends.
Yeah. So thank you, Jason, Chulang, Adora, and Bernard, and sharing your story and, you know, really be vulnerable, as Jason said, you know, and telling people that, hey, you know, your struggles, I think it takes a lot of courage. I want to thank you for that. Thank you, Chef, for being here tonight with us. I'm only 10 minutes late.
Okay, since, Dion, since we are 10 minutes late, can we take another 5 minutes since everybody is still on the phone?
Lovely.
We might as well.
I just want to share one more thing about my findings and my thoughts about the current situation. I think I just want to caution everybody in this current time. What is very important as a business owner, if you are a business owner or business leader, is to ensure the productivity of your people is at the optimum. And connection and communication is extremely important because we are so disconnected right now. Working remotely is a very new experience for many people. And as you could see, global surveys showed in Singapore, for instance, it's the very opposite for many other countries in the world. Many people in the world enjoy working from home because they have very comfortable homes. But when you look at Singapore, the survey is the other way around. Many people wish to go back to the office because it's so much more conducive. It's so much more comfortable. So please make sure you stay connected and you communicate with your people as much as possible because it's a very different ballgame here. The second thing I caution you all is what I call the short-term death cycle. Is all of you, you have AP, you have AR, and in the next couple of weeks, it's going to be a really bad bloodbath because everyone's going to stop paying their bills. It's going to be reluctant to to comply to whatever they have undertaken. And that's something you have to be very, very cautious. The third thing is the long-term death cycle, which is going to be a lot longer because this entire crisis, before it's going to unfold in totality, it's going to take months. And the last thing you have to be very careful about watching is what are the politics going to take as a measure in the respective countries to regulate COVID-19 reboot. And every country is going to be very, very different. And I made you a very profound example with Kwani earlier. Vietnam is back to normal. Our restaurant in Vietnam is open for lunch and people come without mask and they sit next to each other like it happened in January. And that's not going to be the case in Singapore before many, many months. So just keep that in mind. Politics, long-term, short-term, and productivity is very important to watch in the next couple of months.
Thank you, Chef.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Great. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. I know some of you want it longer. Maybe next time we'll schedule longer time so that we have more exchange. But have a good night and then stay tuned and we'll do more, as Jason said.
Can we stay back, Dion?
We can stay back.
Okay, guys. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Watch this space.
Hey,
And, yeah,
Jason, you have been amazing, Jason. Keep it up.
always trying. Always trying.
Are you going to stay on?
I'll
Yeah.
clap for you again.
Clapping.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Hey,
Thank
Dion.
you, audiences.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chef, good to see you, Chef.
Same here. Same here, my friend. Dion, are you still there?
Takeout, and how's you guys doing takeout during the day or at night?
Who are you talking to?